Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatha Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sadhanaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Samadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivashikam Vitam Sya Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnana Jana Shalakya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhishtam Supurakam Gurganara Sisha Sambhushitam Chintya Samasta Veda Nipunam Shri Rupa Patanagam Govinda Abhidam Ujwalam Bharatanam Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Vande Vishwa Gurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Premna Vibija Pradam Devam Divyatanum Suchandavaranam Balarka Charilanshitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Varam Vandetam Shubharam Malika Sharanam Nyasishwara Sridharam Vanshakopatarubyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Varatavishe Namo. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. So I'll start with, this is Madhya-lila, chapter 9, Lord Chaitanya's travels to the holy places, and this is verse number 234. This is right after Mahaprabhu has rescued his servant Krishnadas from the Bhattataris. Sedin Shalyayala Payasvini Tire Snanakore Gela Adikeshava Mandire. That very night, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his assistant Krishnadas arrived at the bank of the Payasvini river. They took their bath and then went to see the temple of Adikeshava. Keshava Dekiya Preme Avishta Hoila Nati Stuti Nritya Gita Bahuta Korila. When the Lord saw the Adikeshava temple, he was immediately overwhelmed with ecstasy. Offering various obeisances and prayers, he chanted and danced. Premadeki loke hoila mahachamatkar sarvalok koila prabhur parama sadkar. All the people there were greatly astonished to see the ecstatic pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They all received the Lord very well. Mahabhakta Gana Saha Tahan Goshti Koila Brahma Samhita Adhyaya Punte Tahan Paila. In the temple of Adikeshava, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discussed spiritual matters among highly advanced devotees. While there, he found a chapter of the Brahma Samhita. Punte Paya Prabhur Hoila Nanda Par Kampashru Shveda Stamba Pulaka Bikar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was greatly happy to find a chapter of that scripture, and symptoms of ecstatic transformations, trembling, tears, perspiration, trance, and jubilation were manifest in his body. Siddhanta Shastra Nahi Brahma Samhitara Sam Govinda Mahimad Gyaner Paramakaran Alpakare Kohe Siddhanta Par Sakala Vaishnava Shastra Madhye Atisar. There is no scripture equal to the Brahma Samhita as far as the final spiritual conclusion is concerned. Indeed, that scripture is the supreme revelation of the glories of Lord Govinda, for it reveals the topmost knowledge about him. Since all conclusions are briefly processed in the Brahma Samhita, it is essential among all the Vaishnava literature. The Brahma Samhita is a very important scripture. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu acquired the 5th chapter from the Adikeshava temple. In that 5th chapter, the philosophical conclusion of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, simultaneous oneness and difference, is presented. The chapter also presents methods of devotional service, the 18-syllable Vedic hymn, discourses on the soul, the super soul, and fruitive activity are an explanation of the Kama Gayatri, Kama Bij, and the original Mahavishnu and the original Mahavishnu, and a detailed description of the spiritual world, specifically Loka Vrindavan. The Brahma Samhita also explains the demigod Ganesh, the demigod Ganesh, Darbodakshai Vishnu, the origin of the Gayatri mantra, the form of Govinda, and his transcendental position and abode, the living entities, the highest goal, the goddess Durga, the meaning of austerity, the 5 gross elements, love of Godhead and personal Brahman, the initiation of Lord Brahma, and the visions of transcendental love, enabling one to see the Lord. The steps of devotional service are also explained. The mind, Yoga Nidra, the goddess of fortune, devotional service and spontaneous ecstasy, incarnations beginning with Lord Ramachandra, deities, the conditioned soul and its duties, the truth about Lord Vishnu, prayers, Vedic hymns, Lord Shiva, the Vedic scriptures, personalism and impersonalism, good behavior, and many other subjects are also discussed. There is also a description of the sun and the universal form of the Lord. All these subjects are conclusively explained in a nutshell in the Brahma Samhita. Well, Srila Govinda Maharaj, he once asked Srila Guru Maharaj about the Brahma Samhita, and Guru Maharaj said, "You've not read it?" And he said, "No." "Then you should read it." And Govinda Maharaj was amazed when he read the Brahma Samhita. He said, previously he learned most things by what he called the throwing power of Guru Maharaj, that Guru Maharaj could throw things and they would into his consciousness, and they would become part of his consciousness. But he said he had heard some of Brahma Samhita from Guru Maharaj, but he hadn't read it, and then he was advised by Guru Maharaj to read it, and after that Govinda Maharaj wanted to present the Brahma Samhita as a scripture. And I believe that Sagar Maharaj, he translated the Brahma Samhita. So I also have the desire to translate the Brahma Samhita into Spanish, because it's a very important scripture. Bahujatne se punti nila lakaya ananta padmanabha aila harashita haya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had the Brahma Samhita copied, and then with great pleasure he went to a place known as Ananta Padmanabha. Dina Dui Padmanabha Koiladarshan Anande Dekite Aila Sri Janardan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained for 2 or 3 days at Ananta Padmanabha and visited the temple there. Then in great ecstasy he went to the temple of Sri Janardan. The temple of Sri Janardan is situated 26 miles north of Trivandrum, near the Varkala railway station. So
Have you been there?
What?
Have you been there?
No. I don't know exactly where Trivandrum is.
Neither do I.
But
It's got to be pretty close to Adikeshava temple, wherever that is.
yes, but
Because,
well, the references to the to the railway stations. This is from Srila Saraswati Thakur's commentary, which has got to be well over 100 years old, I would believe, and some of those railway stations may not even be in existence anymore. But the fact that they're mentioned would be very helpful. Somebody wants to do a pilgrimage and tour where Mahaprabhu visited various temples. They could do so, and that mention of railway stations, whether they're still existing or not, would really help one find the particular places. Because Mahaprabhu did tour all over South India, and many of the temples, they have footprints of Mahaprabhu there.
And Srila Bhaktivedanta, he plays Padapitas at so many different places all around South India, where Mahaprabhu went.
Yes. Dina Dui Tahan Kori Kirtana Nartan Payasvini Asiyadeke Shankar Narayan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted and danced at Sri Janardan for 2 days. He then went to the bank of the Payasvini River and visited the temple of Shankar Narayan. Sringari Matayila Shankaracharya Stane Matsyatirtha Deki Koila Tunga Bhadrai Snane. Then he saw the monastery known as Sringari Mat, the abode of Acharya Shankar. He then visited Matsyatirtha, a place of pilgrimage, and took a bath in the river Tungabhadra. The monastery known as Sringari Mat is situated in the state of Karnataka, in the district of Chikmagalur. Chikmagalur. The monastery is located at the confluence of the rivers Tunga and Bhadra, 7 miles south of Hariharapura. The real name of the place is Sringaragiri or Sringavarapuri, and is the headquarters of Shankaracharya. So I believe, here it's explained. Shankaracharya had 4 principal disciples, and he established 4 centers under their management. In North India, at Badrik Ashram, the monastery named Jyotirmat was established. At Purushottama, the Bhogavardhan or Govardhan monastery was established. In Dwarka, the Sharada monastery was established, and the 4th monastery established in South India is known as Sringari Mat. So, one time I was sent by Srila Prabhupada. He told me, after we had been with him at a temple in South India, he told us, 3 of us, he told, you can go to Jagannath Puri, because it was Snan Yatra. So we went there, and I didn't know what Snan Yatra was. So we tried to get into the Puri temple. And of course they wouldn't let us in the gate, and then they told us, well, if you can get permission from Shankaracharya, then we'll let you in. But of course, Shankaracharya wouldn't give us any permission, and then we came back, and then we said, well, we don't really follow the impersonalist philosophy of Shankaracharya. Then they said, then you can get a letter from the Ramakrishna mission. And I said, we don't deal with the Ramakrishna mission either. They said, then you can get a letter from the Purushottama Gaudiya Mat. So I went there, and they actually gave us a letter.
To get into the Jagannath temple?
What?
They gave you a letter that said you could get into the Jagannath temple?
No, it basically said that we were practicing Vaishnavas and everything. So then we took that letter to the main gate, and then they said, all right, you can get in, you can go in, but you have to go in through the side gate. So we took the letter to the side gate, and then they let us in. But that means into the grounds, not into the temple yet. So we're walking into the grounds. We were walking there, and some big pandit with a big gold chain, big belly also, stopped us and started yelling at us in Oriyan. And then pretty soon a big crowd formed around us, and they looked like they were pretty angry. And so I expected that we were going to get beaten. And then one policeman came, and he said, and he told us, "You have to go out." And he took us. He said, "You have to go out." And I said, "Yes, we'll go out. We'll go out." Yeah, we didn't get to the temple. We were just in the grounds, and the policeman said, "Now you have to go out." And I was, yes, take us out, because I thought if we went with the policeman, we weren't going to get beat. But now it says there's 4. So I was wondering about the Shankaracharyas, because I had heard there's 4 Shankaracharyas, and it mentions here where they are. In the Sringari Mat, the sannyasis assume the designation Saraswati, Bharati, and Puri. They're all Ekadandi sannyasis, distinguished from the Vaishnava sannyasis, who are known as Tridandi sannyasis. The Sringari Mat is situated in South India, in a portion of the country known as Andhra, Dravida, Karnataka, and Kerala. So that portion is called, that's Dravida. The community is called Borivar, and the dynasty is called Borbuva. The place is called Rameshwar, and the slogan is Aham Brahmasmi. The deity is Lord Varaha, and the energetic power is Kamakshi. The Charya is Hastamalak, and the brahmachari assistants of the sannyasi are known as Chaitanya. The place of pilgrimage is called Tungabhadra, and the subject for Vedic study is Yajurveda. Okay. Regarding Shankaracharya, it is understood that he was born in the year 608 of the Shakabda era in the month of Vaishak on the 3rd day of the waxing moon in a place in South India known as Kaladi. Okay, well, I don't know when it's... Shit. Okay. I think I heard that Shankaracharya took sannyas when he was like 7 or 8. Madhvacharya Stani Aila Jaha Tatvavadi Urupite Krishnadeki Tahan Hoila Premanadi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next arrived at Udupi, the place of Madhvacharya, where the philosophers known as Tattvavadis resided. There resided the deity of Lord Krishna and became mad with ecstasy. Sripad Madhvacharya took his birth near Udupi, which is situated in the South Kannada district of South India, just west of Sahyadri. In his childhood, Madhvacharya was known as Vasudeva, and there are some wonderful stories surrounding him. It is said that once when his father had piled up many debts, Madhvacharya converted tamarind seeds into actual coins to pay them off. When he was 5 years old, he was offered the sacred thread. A demon named Maniman lived near his abode in the form of a snake, and at the age of 5, Madhvacharya killed that snake with the toe of his left foot. When his mother was very much disturbed, he would appear before her in one jump. He was a great scholar even in childhood, and although his father did not agree, he accepted sannyas at the age of 12. Upon receiving sannyas from Achyuta Preksha, he received the name Purnapragyatirtha. After traveling all over India, he finally discussed scriptures with Vidyashankar, the exalted leader of the Sringari Math. Vidyashankar was actually diminished in the presence of Madhvacharya, accompanied by Satyatirtha. Madhvacharya went to Badrikashram. It was there that he met Vyasadeva and explained his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita before him. Thus he became a great scholar by studying before Vyasadeva. By the time he came to the Ananda Math from Badrikashram, Madhvacharya had finished his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. His companion Satyatirtha wrote down the entire commentary. When Madhvacharya returned from Badrikashram, he went to Ganjama. Which is on the bank of the river Godavari. There he met with 2 learned scholars named Shobhanabhata and Swami Shastri. Later, these scholars became known in the disciplic succession of Madhvacharya as Padmanabha Tirtha and Narahari Tirtha. It goes on for some pages about Madhvacharya.
Does it mean the incarnation of Hanuman?
Yes. So, after I read some of this, there's some commentaries about the Tattvavadis, and I also met with the Tattvavadis when I was in South India. Nartak Gopaladeki Parama Mahane Madhvacharya Swapnadiya Ailatarastani. While at the Udupi monastery, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Nartak Gopal, dancing Gopal, most beautiful deity. This deity appeared to Madhvacharya in a dream. Gopi Chandan Talicha Achila Dingate Madhvacharya Say Krishna Paila Konamate. Madhvacharya had somehow or other acquired the deity of Krishna from a heap of Gopi Chandan that had been transported in a boat. Madhvacharya Anitare Korilastapan Adyavadi Seva Kori Tattvavadi Gan. Madhvacharya brought this dancing Gopal deity to Udupi and installed him in the temple. To date, the followers of Madhvacharya, known as Tattvavadis, worship the deity. Krishnamurti Deki Prabhu Maham Sukha Paila Premaveshe Bahukana Nritya Gita Koila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received great pleasure in seeing this beautiful form of Gopal. For a long time he danced and chanted in ecstatic love. Tattvavadi Gana Prabhuke Mayavadi Gyane Pratama Darshane Prabhuke Nakoila Sambhashane. When the Tattvavadi Vaishnavas first saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they considered him a Mayavadi sannyasi. Therefore, they did not talk to him. Pache Primavesha Deke Koila Chamatkar Vaishnava Gyane Bahut Korila Satkar. Later, after seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in ecstatic love, they were struck with wonder. Then, considering him a Vaishnava, they gave him a nice reception. Vaishnavata Sabar Antare Garbajani Ishad Hashiya Kichu Kohe Goramani. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could understand that the Tattvavadis were very proud of their Vaishnavism. He therefore smiled and began to speak to them. Tatsavar Antare Garva Jane Gorachandra Tatsava Sange Goshti Korila Aramba. Considering them very proud, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began his discussion. Tatvavadi Acharya Sab Shastrate Praveen Tare Prashna Koila Prabhu Hoya Janardin. The chief Acharya of the Tattvavad community was very learned in the revealed scriptures. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu humbly questioned him. Sadhya Sadhana Ami Na Jabi Balomate Sadhya Sadhana Shrestha Janaha Amate. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I do not know very well the aim of life and how to achieve it. Please tell me of the best ideal for humanity and how to attain it. Acharya Kohe Varnashrama Dharma Krishna Samarpan Ahoy Krishna Bhaktir Shrestha Sadan. The Acharya replied, when the activities of the four castes and the four when the activities of the four castes and the four ashramas are dedicated to Krishna, they constitute the best means whereby one can attain the highest goal of life. Panchavida Mukti Paya Vaikunte Gaman Sadhya Shrestha Hoy E Shastra Nirupan. When one dedicates the activities of Varnashram Dharma to Krishna, he is eligible for 5 kinds of liberation. Thus he is transferred to the spiritual world in Vaikuntha. This is the highest goal of life and the verdict of all revealed scriptures. Prabhu Kohe Shastri Kohe Shravana Kirtan Krishna Prema Seva Faler Parama Sadan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, according to the verdict of the Shastras, the process of hearing and chanting is the best means to attain loving service to Krishna. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Parasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dashyam Sakyam Atmani Vedanam Iti Pumsarpita Vishnu Bhaktis Chennavalakshana Kriyeta Bhagavati Adha Tanmanye Ditam Uttamam. The process entails hearing, chanting, and remembering the holy name, form, pastimes, qualities, and entourage of the Lord, offering service according to the time, place, and performer, worshiping the deity, offering prayers, always considering oneself the eternal servant of Krishna, making friends with him, and dedicating everything unto him. These 9 items of devotional service, when directly offered to Krishna, constitute the highest attainment of life. This is the verdict of the revealed scriptures. Shravanam Kirtana Hoite Krishna Hoy Prema Se Panchama Purusharta Shartarasima. When one comes to the platform of loving service to Lord Krishna by executing these 9 processes, beginning with hearing and chanting, he has attained the 5th platform of success and the limit of life's goals. Evam vrata swapriyanama kirtya chatanuraga druta chitta uchai hasati ato rodati roti gayati unmaravan nrityati lokabaya. When one is actually advanced and takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is very dear to him, one is agitated and loudly chants the holy name. He also laughs, cries, becomes disturbed, and chants just like a madman, not caring for outsiders. Karma ninda karma tyaga sarva shastre kohe karma hoite prema bhakti krishne kabunahe. In every revealed scripture there is condemnation of fruitive activities. It is advised everywhere to give up engagement in fruitive activities, for no one can attain the highest goal of life, love of God, by executing them. Agyayaivam gunandoshan maya dishtan apisvakan dharman satyajaya sarvan mambaje sacha sattamaha. So what Mahaprabhu is doing, he's actually refuting what the conclusion offered by the Tattvavadis is. He asked them what's the goal of life and how to attain that goal, and they said by practicing Varnashram Dharma, and then one can attain the 5 kinds of liberation, and one can ultimately go to Vaikuntha. And Mahaprabhu says, the revealed scriptures tell us that the process of hearing and chanting is the most essential, and that by engagement in that, in devotional service, hearing and chanting, one can come to the level of love of Godhead. Then he says here, Agyayaivam gunandoshan mayadishtan apisvakan dharman satyajaya sarvan mam bhajet sacha satama. Occupational duties are described in the revealed scriptures. If one analyzes them, he can fully understand their qualities and faults and then give them up completely to render service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A person who does so is considered a first-class man. So occupational duties, that's the Varnashram Dharma. That's the Varnashram system. Sarvadharmam parityaja mamikam sharanam vrajaham tvam sarva papebhyo mukshayishyami ma shucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender to me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Tavat karmani kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata matkata shravanadot va shradayava najayate. As long as one is not satiated by fruitive activity and has not wakened his taste for devotional service by Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, one has to act according to the regulative principles of the Vedic injunctions. Panchavida mukti tyaga kore bhaktagan Valgu kore mukti deki narakarasam. Pure devotees reject the 5 kinds of liberation. Indeed, for them, liberation is very insignificant because they see it as hellish. So he's challenging the Tattvavadis, their conclusions. And he goes on further because Salokya sarshti samipya sarupyai katvam apiyuta diyamanam na grinanti vinamat sevanam janaha. Pure devotees always reject the 5 kinds of liberation, which include living in the spiritual Vaikuntha planets, possessing the same opulences as those possessed by the Supreme Lord, having the same bodily features as the Lord, associating with the Lord and merging into the body of the Lord. The pure devotees do not accept these benedictions without the service of the Lord. Yodustya Jan Shitizuta Svajanarta Dharan Pratyam Shriyam Sura Varai Sarayavalokam Naichan Ripastad Uchitam Mahatam Madhudvit Sevanurakta Manasam Abhavo Pifalgu. It is very difficult to give up material opulence, land, children, society, friends, riches, wife, or the blessings of the goddess of fortune, which are desired even by great demigods. But King Bharata did not desire such things, and this was quite befitting his position, because for a pure devotee whose mind is always engaged in the service of the Lord, even liberation or merging into the existence of the Lord is insignificant, and what to speak of material opportunities. Narayana para sarve na kutascha na bibhyati Svarga pavarga narakeshu api tuyarta darshina. A person who is a devotee of Lord Narayan is not afraid of a hellish condition because he considers it the same as elevation to the heavenly planets or liberation. The devotees of Lord Narayan are accustomed to seeing all these things on the same level. This is very nice. This part is from the Bhagavatam. And this is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam regarding the personality of Chitraketu. Once when Chitraketu saw the goddess Parvati sitting on the lap of Lord Shambhu, that's Lord Shiva, he criticized Lord Shiva for being shameless and sitting just like an ordinary man with his wife on his lap. For this reason, Chitraketu was cursed by Parvati. Later he became a demon named Vritasura. Chitraketu was a very powerful king and a devotee, and he could certainly retaliate even against Lord Shiva, but when Parvati cursed him, he immediately accepted the curse with a bowed head. When he agreed to accept his curse, Lord Shiva praised him and told Parvati that a devotee of Lord Narayan is never afraid of accepting any position, provided there is a chance to serve the Supreme Lord. This is the purport of Narayana para sarve nakutaschana bibhyati. So, actually, Chitraketu and Lord Shiva, they were very close, and he was joking. He was joking with Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva was sitting with Parvati on his lap, so Chitraketu made some comment like, "Oh, here's a great Mahadev sitting with his wife on his lap, just like an ordinary man." And Shiva took it as humorous, but Parvati didn't. So she cursed Chitraketu to come to take. She cursed Chitraketu to take birth as a demon. But there's something about his birth which was also unique, because there was a situation where when the Devas and the Asuras are always fighting. So the Asuras, the Devas and the Asuras are always fighting, and the Asuras were being victorious. So he was born as a demon. So the Asuras the Devas were always being victorious. So the Asuras did a sacrifice to have a great, someone who could defeat Indra and his devotees. So they did the sacrifice, but when they were doing the sacrifice, they pronounced one of the syllables wrong. So they were praying for someone who was an enemy of Indra, but instead they got somebody, by the mispronunciation, they got somebody who Indra considered an enemy, but who the demon didn't consider Indra an enemy. And actually this Chitraketu is like a Mahabhagavata, but Indra saw him as an enemy, and he's a demon, and he's fighting against Indra, but Indra can't defeat him. But he didn't regard Indra as an enemy, so he told Indra how he could be defeated. And it was so that appeared as Vritasura. And Vritasura was actually a very nice demon. Mukti karma dui vastu tyaje bhaktagan se dui stapatumi sadya sadan Both liberation and fruitive activity are rejected by devotees. You are trying to engage these things. You are trying to establish these things as life's goal in the process for attaining it. Both liberation and fruitive activities are rejected by devotees. You are trying to establish these things as life's goal in the process for attaining it. Sannyasi deki amore koraha banchana kohila tei sadya sarana lakan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continues speaking to the Tattvavadi Acharya. Seeing that I am a mendicant or a sannyasi in the renounced order of life, you have been playing with me in a duplicitous way. You have not actually described the process and ultimate objective. So he's playing with Mahaprabhu says, you're playing with me because I asked what the goal of life is, and you told me to follow the Varnashram Dharma system and then to attain liberation. But you can see I'm a sannyasi, and the sannyasi is the head of the Varnas and the head of the ashrams. So you're just saying this to flatter me. That you're saying that the best way of attaining the success of life is to follow the Varnashram Dharma system. And you can see I'm a sannyasi. So a sannyasi is the head of the Brahmins and head of the different head of the ashrams. The four ashrams are brahmachari, sannyas, grihastha, and vanaprastha. So he said, but in the time of Mahaprabhu, the sannyasis they're all Brahmins. Only a Brahmin can become a sannyasi. So he says, you can see I'm a sannyasi, so you're trying to flatter me by saying the success of life is to follow the Varnashram Dharma system. Knowing that I'm both the highest Varna and the highest Ashram. Shuni Tattvacharya hoila antare lajita prabhura vaishnavata deki hoila vishnita. After hearing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Acharya, the Tattvavadi Sampradaya became very much ashamed. Upon observing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's rigid faith in Vaishnavism, he was struck with wonder. Acharya kohe tumi jay koha se satya hoy sarvashastre Vaishnavera a shunis joy. The Tattvavadi Acharya replied, what you have said is certainly factual. It is a conclusion of all the revealed scriptures of the Vaishnavas. Tatapi Madhvacharya jay korijache nirbandha se achar ire sabe sampradaya sambandha. Still, whatever Madhvacharya has established as the formula for our party, we practice as a party policy. Prabhu kohe karmi jnani dui bhakti hina tomara sampradaya deki se dui china. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, both the fruitive worker and the speculative philosopher, both the fruitive worker and the speculative philosopher, or karmis and jnanis, are considered non-devotees. We see both elements present in your sampradaya. Sabi ek guna deki tomara sampradaya satya vigraha kore ishvare kore korahanisjaya. The only qualification that I see in your sampradaya is that you accept the form of the Lord as true. Now this is in the Mahaprabhu he's in the line of the Gaudiya Madhva Sampradayas, but this is a strong critique of the Madhva Sampradaya, or at least of the Tattvavadis too. E Matataragare Garva Churna Kori Falgu Tirta tabe chali aila Gaurahani. Thus Mahaprabhu broke the pride of the Tattvavadis to pieces. He then went to the holy place known as Falgu Tirtha. So I also met, not in Udupi, because I didn't go to Udupi, but I was in what do they call it, where all the incense is made?
Mysore.
Bangalore, yes. I was in Bangalore. At that time, now Bangalore is the big center of all technology. But at that time, Bangalore was known as the air-conditioned city. It was a very nice city, and it's not like that anymore. It's changed. It's become very industrialized. The only industries they had in Bangalore at that time was incense, and they had a brewery. There was a brewery there, but the city was very nice. The city of Bangalore was. Now they say it's not like that. But I met with the Tattvavadis there, and the Tattvavadis, there was something that was disconcerting, because they told me that there are certain souls that are known as tamasic souls, and they can never be liberated, not even by the holy name. So I really didn't want to hear that. About a special kind of soul called a tamasic soul that never could be liberated, according to them. So,
did they try to back it up with some scripture? Or?
They're
not. You can't back it up, but I'm just thinking they had to come up with it from someplace, you know.
I have no idea where they came up with it from, but
Fertile brain.
Okay, let's just finish this page here. Trita Kupe Vishalara Koridarashan Panchab Sara Tirte Aila Sachiranandan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Mother Sachi, next went to Trita Kupa, and after seeing the Vishala deity there, he went to the holy place known as Panchapsara Tirtha. So let's see about the Vishal. So, what I also find interesting is we started right after Mahaprabhu had saved Krishnadas, his servant, from the Tattvavadis. We read that yesterday, and the Tattvavadis had induced this Krishnadas to come with them and lead Mahaprabhu by sending some women.
The Bhattataris.
The Tatataris. Bhattataris, pardon me. The Bhattataris had seduced Krishnadas with some women. They went there, and Krishnadas followed them. And then when Mahaprabhu actually went to save Krishnadas, then they attacked Mahaprabhu with weapons. And when they attacked Mahaprabhu, the weapons fell from their hands and began cutting their bodies to pieces. So they, who was able, they ran away. And Mahaprabhu saved Krishnadas by dragging him by his hair. Dragged him by his hair. So, what I also find interesting, we took up today, starting right after Krishnadas, shloka after Krishnadas had been saved, and you don't hear anything about Mahaprabhu reprimanding Krishnadas or scold anything. He just saves him, and then he takes him. And then when he gets back to Puri, that we'll see. Then he says, okay, now I was responsible for Krishnadas, now I brought him back, now he can go away. He can go wherever he wants. And Krishnadas breaks down, breaks down crying. He's completely overwhelmed. And then Mahaprabhu has dismissed him, but Nityananda Prabhu engages Krishnadas. Nityananda says, well, the devotees, Mahaprabhu has just returned to Jagannath Puri. He's just returned from an extensive tour of South India. And the devotees in Bengal have to know. So Krishnadas should go and tell them all. So even though Krishnadas was rejected by Mahaprabhu, he was engaged by Nityananda Prabhu. And there is something similar that, well, what we can see is that there were certain devotees that were actually rejected by Srila Guru Maharaj, by Srila Sridhar Maharaj. But Govinda Maharaj engaged them in service, even though they were rejected by Guru Maharaj, I know of several instances, but one involved a deity, One of the devotees or something had, anyway, I can't talk about it. It's just too much. But and so I'm going to end here, and I'll just see how do you go.
And then there was that story of that person who, he was with Guru Maharaj and he had done something, so they escaped from where he had done whatever, or they sent him off, and then they wouldn't let him live in the mat. But then they asked Saraswati Thakur, he's been living outside the mat and doing all this nice service, but he did this previously. He said, well, me in the mood of Mahaprabhu, as he rejected Haridas, Junior Haridas, I also cannot, allow him. But you, in the mood of Nityananda, must accept.
Yes, that was, I think that happened in Madras.
Yeah.
In Madras with Guru Maharaj. With Bhakti. How's the story? Srila Saraswati Thakur rejected the person because it was something involving family attachment.
No. What it was he was on a preaching mission with Guru Maharaj, not even in Madras, someplace, and he had some connection with one of the local girls.
Oh.
And so then they, the village came and wanted to kill him, and Guru Maharaj was resting at that time. So he kept acting like he was asleep, and they said, oh, well, Maharaj is sleeping and we can't wake him up at this time, but he will deal with this very severely in the morning, you know what I mean? So we will. And as soon as they left, he told the guy, get on the train, get out of the state, go to Madras, and, saved his life, basically. And then when they came back in the morning, he just escaped during the night, and, Maharaj.
Oh, that's a different thing than I heard. There was one case where Srila Saraswati Thakur had a devotee there, and that devotee, there was something like he wanted to stay in his own village and preach, and Srila Saraswati Thakur was angry and somehow other rejected him, and Srila Guru Maharaj something like that. I wish I knew the whole story because I've heard it, but I just can't remember it.
Yeah, but that was the thing. That was why they came to him and asked Saraswati Thakur, because he didn't know about this situation. And they said, he was working outside. He was like a watch repairman or something. And he said, no, he can move back in if Nityananda must allow him. But
yeah,
sort of a funny story. Guru Maharaj faking that he was asleep.
I know that about what Govinda Maharaj said about two devotees, how they were rejected by Guru Maharaj, but yeah. Hari Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Charavaya Nama
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Chaitanya Nama
Charavaya Madhavaya Charavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Keshavaya Nama
Gopal Govinda Ram Simari Sudan Hari Gopinatha Marana Mohan
Hari Gopi
Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Karadara Shiva Sari Gora Bhaktivedanta Jai Rupa Sanatam Bhakti Raguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Rasa Raguna Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Jai Te Vijnana Shami Sapuram Jai Gosai Jarmui Taradas Tasabar Padarenu Mora Panchagas Tare Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas Janame More Abhilas Jai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas Radha Krishna Madhya-lila Toreva Prakash Anande Bolo Hare Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majayaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyan Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Nara Tamudan Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhara Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Tilotneriya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmawacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Paravajaka Ashta Tara Sadasi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Paravajaka Ashtatara Sadasi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Rakakshidhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Premsigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Vishvaparenya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupad ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Kusham Ashram Maharaj ki jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Navadip Dham ki jai. Shri Ram Mayapur ki jai. Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Saparshada Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Koladvip ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Soquel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Sevashram ki jai. Ganga Devi ki jai. Tulasi Maharani ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Ju ki jai. Shri Purushottam Madam ki jai. Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Ju ki jai. Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shri Nishingadev ki jai. Bhakta Prabhara Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Bhakti Lalita Devi ki jai. All the assembled devotees ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.
Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki jai.